What in the world is in that bag? What you got in that bag?
Oh, yes, it's Friday, so you know what that means. Mike Del Tufo, kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? TJ here. Listen, in this week's Big Ass Grab Bag, guys, I decided to pay a little bit of a tribute, a little homage, if you will, to our guest host, Ryan Leaf, right? And how am I going to do that? Well, Ryan, what number draft pick were you in the NFL draft?
I was the number 2 draft pick in the NFL draft.
All right, so that's what I did, fellas. I decided to dig into the big-ass grab bag this week, and I'm going to give you TJ's top 5 number 2 draft picks in the NFL of all time. And with all due respect, Ryan, you know you're my man, right?
I do know I'm your man.
Yeah, I think you and I, we've kind of had like a little bit of a bond. You know, we've become friends,
yes.
I'd say. So it's not disrespectfully, I don't have you in my top.
Oh, no.
And I just want to get that out there.
Man, that's messed up.
I know it's messed up, and I'm going to apologize. You were close, but I mean, you just didn't quite. I didn't quite have you in the top 5.
You
and
can
I
go
hope
on
that,
YouTube and get him back for this one.
and I
right?
hope that
I'll
doesn't
show you how to
affect
do
our
it.
friendship. Is all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's hear it.
Now, coming in at number 5, you know, we like to kind of consider ourselves kind of, you know, like historians of the game, and we got younger people watching, so we always like to kind of teach them about the old school. And at number 5, I'm going to give you this guy, right? The legendary George Papa Bear Halas traveled to Columbia University in New York to watch a player that he believed could become an effective T-formation quarterback. This is how long ago this was, Ryan. And after watching him play, he decided that, yeah, his instincts were right, and he convinced the Pittsburgh Pirates, later to become the Steelers, to draft him at number 2 and then trade him to the Bears. Sounds great, right? The only problem is this player decided he didn't want to play in the NFL. He was going to go work for his father-in-law's trucking business. So George Halas went to his house, had dinner with him and his wife, and he handed him a check for $5,500. Now, in 1939, that's about $105,000 today. And let's just say this player decided that the trucking business could wait. So coming in at number 5, I've got Sid Luckman, the number 2 pick in the 1939 NFL draft. 12 seasons with the Chicago Bears. He led them to 4 NFL championships. He was an MVP. He was considered the greatest passer of his time. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Sid Luckman was the Tom Brady of his era, so I felt it was only right to get him the number 5 slot.
But he's only number 5?
He's only number 5, yeah. You know, the game changed a lot since the 40s, Ryan.
Still.
You know? But I think you'll agree with the rest of these.
Very
Coming
good.
in at number
Very
4, 2,105. That's a single season NFL rushing benchmark, and it belongs to the number 4 guy here, Eric Dickerson. It's number 2 pick in the 1983 draft out of Southern Methodist University, just behind John Elway. Isn't it funny how we had that in there? You know, Dickerson, 13,259 yards rushing, 90 touchdowns over his 11-season career. That's still 9th all time with the Rams, the Colts, and later with the Raiders and the Falcons. The goggles, the Jerry curl, the smooth, upright running style. Eric Dickerson was just the man, and he's coming in at number 4 on my all-time number 2 draft picks list. Coming in at number 3, another Ram. This guy could have been number 1. He was that good. The number 2 pick in the 1994 NFL draft behind Dan Big Daddy Wilkerson, who the Bengals took. It's Marshall Faulk, and he's a favorite of this show, in particular Chris Brockman, who always raves about just Marshall Faulk's football mind. But what he did on the football field, guys, 12,279 yards rushing, 100 rushing touchdowns. Now, you add that to what he did in the passing game, Ryan, because he kind of took that to another level.
Yeah.
767 career catches, 6,800 yards, and 36 touchdowns receiving. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl champion. He was the Rookie of the Year. He was the MVP. Marshall Faulk was the man, and Kurt Warner once told me he was the greatest football player that he's ever played with. If he's too low on this list, I completely understand, but I got him at number 3. Coming in at number 2, this man's nickname was amazing. He was called the Manster, the number 2 pick in the 1975 NFL draft out of Maryland, right after Steve Bartkowski, Randy White of my Dallas Cowboys. You know, he was a one-time Super Bowl champion, and in that Super Bowl, he, along with Harvey Martin, were the MVPs of the Super Bowl. That doesn't happen much to defensive players, guys. As you know, he was a 7-time first-team All-Pro player, 9-time Pro Bowler, all 80s team, all 100 team. Randy White, number 54, the Manster. He was the man in Dallas.
The Manster, huh?
The Manster, half man, half monster. Now, coming in at number 1, this guy the number 1, number 2 pick in the history of the NFL. Guys, Bill Belichick, right? He's widely considered to be the greatest NFL coach ever, right?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say so? Okay. And for 2 decades, he coached a guy who many believe is the greatest NFL player of all time.
Fact.
Okay. But the funny thing is, when you ask Bill Belichick who the greatest player he ever coached was, it's usually not that quarterback. It's a linebacker. Coming in at number 1, Lawrence Taylor, the number 2 pick out of North Carolina in 1981 behind George Rogers, who the Saints picked. Where do you begin with Lawrence Taylor? Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 8-time All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. And also, guys, more importantly, he defeated Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event of WrestleMania 11, okay? But that's just some of the good of Lawrence Taylor. But just like Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, Lawrence Taylor was a midnight rocker. And you hear about all of his extracurricular activities, you know, the stories of alcohol and other substances that he consumed at very high levels. And it makes you wonder, he was doing all that and still going out and winning MVPs and forcing offenses to completely change their gameplay and to stop him. I mean, if he was doing all that off of some gin and juice, could you imagine if he just would have went to a season sober? We're probably lucky he didn't, Chris. It's probably like the same reason why we're lucky that Shaq couldn't shoot free throws. It would have just been too unfair. So I've got Lawrence Taylor, the greatest number 2 pick of all time in the NFL, and that's TJ's top 5. That's a big-ass grab bag. Let me know what you think.
I like it. I like it. I love the history in it. I love the Sid Luckman to the Marshall Faulk to your Randy White Cowboys, and then ultimately Lawrence Taylor.
And number 7 on the list was Ryan Leaf. I'm just gonna. I don't usually go that far, but yeah. So
good to know.
Yeah,
good to know.